Middlesbrough 2, Birmingham City 1. What a Saturday afternoon that turned out. Oh, I'm really sorry. Luke Ayling appears to have fallen over again. My name is Simon Brew, and this is Thoughts on the Blues. Hello, welcome back to Thoughts on the Blues. Recorded the evening of Middlesbrough 2, Birmingham City 1. A game where a lot of the talk going into it was, here's this Blues team that have won 2 games on the bounce, 4-0. Here's this Middlesbrough team whose manager appears to be pegging it off to Wolves. So, first of all, let's up front say hello to Middlesbrough fans who might be coming along for a gloat watch. Done it myself. I get the drill. I would like to join you in congratulating Rob Edwards on his future of being long-term unemployed after his term at Wolverhampton Wanderers is complete. I would also congratulate you on your victory. I have no quarrel with Middlesbrough at all, but bugger off because this video is for Blues fans. It was a puzzle, though, the noise going into the game, because if you go back like 8 days when we were facing these 3 matches, home to Portsmouth, home to Millwall, away at Middlesbrough. And I think most of us went into this thinking the away to Middlesbrough one, if we get something from it, that would be great, but it's the 2 home games that matter. Then typical Blues, they go and blast our expectations, and 2 hugely convincing wins, the best performances of the Chris Davis era. I think that seems to be a consensus. So suddenly you go to Middlesbrough, like, 3rd place in the league, with hope. God, it's dangerous, isn't it? You go with hope. You watch a football match and you're thinking, no, we're pretty much matching them. Oh, if you hear, if from time to time I just fall over during the course of this video, it's just because I'm appealing for a penalty, just kind of, or a free kick or something. Don't worry about it. We'll just crack on. I had sympathy for Middlesbrough. Actually, I just felt that the whole managerial saga, when you've actually got a chairman who treats people pretty decently, they didn't actually deserve. There's Steve Gibson in the stand. There's a manager he appointed, in June? Was it June? It was only like 3. It wasn't long ago. Who's just toddling off to go and sit at the bottom of the Premier League for a bit. So yeah, I had sympathy for that, but also my loyalties with the Blues. And I confess, I was pretty pleased to see an unchanged team named by Chris Davis. I thought that was hugely positive. That we've had 2 matches where nobody's fallen below an 8 out of 10. And as risky as it is to put exactly the same team in when you've got 3 games in 7 days, I can't quarrel with the lineup. I can't say when I looked at the lineup, I was disappointed with it. I was wary looking at the opposition lineup that there's Riley McGree, a player who, in very dark days for Birmingham City, sparked some. Was a joy to watch, and I wish Riley McGree the very, very best. I just wish he was on our team. I think in a different era for Blues, he might have been, but you can only deal with the reality of what you've got in front of you. And so we go up to the Riverside with hope. And I went on the Small Heath Alliance board before the game and was looking at some of the discussion. And someone put something that I just really agreed. It's just like, we could go there and win this. We were capable of winning this. Draw, that's fine. And I would accept a close run defeat where we played really well. And I thought, yeah, me too. And now I'm like, no, that's the old mentality, isn't it? That as Blues fans, we're sort of finding this new line between not being the people who said, yeah, we're going to come along and just absolutely blast the league. I wasn't one of those, but also not being the Blues fans who are just like, oh, it'd be a nice surprise if we get a point here. I don't think it's unjustifiable, given the squad we've got in the last 2 performances, to think, you know what, we're good enough at least for a point here. I don't think there's arrogance to that. I just see if our team had been playing the way it was playing for the last 2 games, we could have gone to Middlesbrough and got something. I mean, spoiler, we didn't, right? So, nearly fell over. We didn't. And again, congratulations to Middlesbrough, blah, 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 blah. But I'm still allowed to be a mildly unreasonable Blues fan, aren't I? And just thinking, could we have got something there? Because the problem is, I think we probably could. I do think the course of the game was changed very, very early on by the injury to Paik Seung-ho. Now, I've got a history. I've only done like 11 or 12 of these videos, and I'm a bit of I bang the drum for Peck. I have done during the days when he was getting a lot of flack and the days where he scored in the last couple of games. I think he's a really classy, elegant player, but also a player who does what his manager says. And sometimes I think he takes the flack for that. It's just like Chris Davis is saying pass that way rather than that way. Just like you blame the player a lot of the time. And I think in terms of people I would trust with a football, Peck is right up there. The fact that we've played in a slightly different way the last two games and been getting the ball forward faster, we've seen this extra side to him, and like the bloke scores goals now. And at the point he wasn't carried off, was he? But he was heavily injured inside 2 minutes. I looked at it and went from, we could win this, to, yeah, I'd take the draw. I thought we might be in trouble here. It's no disrespect to Mark Leonard. I think over the course of the match, you see the slight difference between Leonard and Peck. And I think Leonard is a good improving player. And I think Peck is a very, very good player. But at the point Leonard comes in, I don't know. It just felt like it was going to be slightly trickier. I don't know. Is Leonard's best position in those holding as one of those holding two midfielders? I understand Davis didn't want to bring like Iwata out of defence into that position. I think Tommy Doyle has played really well there, and so the only options that I saw it was you take Peck off and put Leonard on, or you put Brightside Samuel on, move Iwata back into midfield. Don't know. Hindsight is really easy, and I wasn't advocating moving Iwata from right back where he was man of the match last week. But Peck comes in. I mean, there's a worry there that he looks in heavy pain. The fact that there's an international break hopefully works in his favour. But I mean, I was really sad to see him go off, particularly so early. Middlesbrough will rightly point to the fact that that one of their key players, Fry, went off injured, but the difference was the Sod had scored a goal already, a really badly defended corner. You're just like, oh, we're back there, are we? And so within 15, 16 minutes, Middlesbrough banged one in, 1-0 up. I don't think they were great value for it, but it doesn't matter, does it? I mean, we're back in like, always beware the person who quotes expected goals and things like that at you instead of goals. The cold, hard facts, and I accept them. Middlesbrough had one of those goal things. Birmingham didn't have one of those goal things. Middlesbrough thus ahead. It wasn't that we weren't having chances, though. And again, I thought we were looking pretty decent. I thought Middlesbrough were as well in the opening exchanges as well. I mean, McGree drags a shot wide fairly early on. Beadle dived for it to make it look really good. And because Beadle's 9 foot tall, when he dives, it looks really good as well. I also thought that when McGree was coming at us, we looked slightly in trouble, probably more than when. I mean, Hackney was very good as well. There were a couple of players causing us a lot of problems. When it went to their forwards, I was strangely relaxed about it all, really. Then we're back at, we had our chances before the goal came in. We had Dux having probably his only really very good moment in a slightly disappointing game where he holds the ball up, gets it to Iwata. Iwata, there's the right back in the penalty area again. Apparently we had loads of touches in the penalty area. How good that did us. Iwata comes in, blasts the shot wide, but we're really in the game. I also I should have acknowledged this loads of times over the last couple of videos. We also have two centre-backs, particularly Clara, who love marauding forward. And can happen so comfortable on the ball, particularly Clara, happily dribbling up half the park before playing like a really decent pass to someone's feet. And we were, I mean, let's face it, we were ticking, we were working. It's what I mean. Which cliche shall I go for? We didn't look like the away team for up until the goal went in. But then the goal went in, and a set piece goal. And I thought we got a little bit over this, but then maybe we've been spoilt over the last week. And it's easy to forget that Bristol City was like, only 2 weeks away. It's only 2 weeks back. So 2 weeks back, we were all doom and gloom and everything was terrible before the 2-4-0 wins. And so we concede this goal, badly defended, a badly defended corner. Middlesbrough ahead, can't believe their luck. They've got no manager on the bench really to jump around and just celebrate this. What's he doing going to Wolves? That notwithstanding. And so, I mean, we're sort of back where we were. But I thought we were different. So if you look at, I still maintain, if you go back to the Bristol City game, we gave them a game up until we made the changes towards the end where we were just doing hoofball. But up until that point, apart from the fact that for some reason we only wanted to take long shots over the bar, some credit to Bristol City there, but we could have been a bit more adventurous and gone forward. We were up until 2/3 at the pitch. I thought we looked dangerous against Bristol City. The difference against Middlesbrough is I thought we looked pretty dangerous against them anyway. Our press was really good. We were picking up the ball in the final third. We were causing them problems. Stansfield, again, I mean, he wasn't on the score sheet this particular game, works his backside off, closing people down. Duck's closing people down as well. And, you know, we were having our opportunities. We were having chances. And I also thought, as much as Boro looked decent, I thought they looked pretty vulnerable. And it wasn't a massive surprise when we pick up an equaliser. And what do you know? It's a set-piece goal. We are spoilt with these at the moment. It's a set-piece goal that Middlesbrough's Luke Ayling in particular looked particularly vexed about. So I lost intending to lose a lot of sleep over worry about that. But there was some suggestion that Damari Gray had done a bit of pushing and stuff like that. I've watched it a couple of times, not particularly closely because, you know, the ref gave it. It's a goal. We've been on the receiving end of unjust stuff, blah, blah, blah. It didn't look too bad to me. I'm not sure I'd have instantly by eyesight ruled that out, but then I got a dodgy eye, so what do I know? Bottom line, 1-1, we're in a really good position to you know, just to crack on. And at 1-1, I would imagine probably Middlesbrough fans as well thought, oh, this Birmingham team, we might be in a bit of trouble here, because turns out, we didn't know this a couple of weeks ago, we're really good at attacking now. We're really good at just going forward. Patrick Roberts looks a continued threat. When he goes forward, I think he can go past players. When Damari Gray goes forward, I think at the moment he can occasionally go past players. Patrick Roberts, to me, looks the more potent threat. And then Keshi Anderson as well, when he's taking people on. I think there's a slight mentality difference in that Roberts and Anderson, by nature, deep in their DNA, want to attack. I think Gray's got that as well. But perhaps to a lesser degree, and he just seems to have just lost a tiny bit of confidence taking players on, but then he's getting the goals in. So I'm not complaining. Damari Gray's puts in, what, a 7 out of 10, an 8 out of 10? And I think he's been a very, very good signing for us. I'm very, very glad to see him back in a Birmingham City shirt. The problem was, outside of an assortment of penalty shouts and free kick shouts, some of which harsh, some of which not, I talked a week or two ago about this underbelly we've got of like the 10 minutes before half time, where if you're going to throw everyone at Blues, do it there, because that's the point where I think we look the most vulnerable. Sod's law, I sat there this time thinking, no, actually, I think we look pretty solid here. I mean, I'm a Blues fan, so I still expect it to go wrong. I've not gone completely mad. But I sat there and just thought, yeah, all right. But also I had a kind of sinking. I had a feeling that we were about 10, 20% below where we've been in the other two matches over the last week. That we had a bunch of players who were putting 9 out of 10s in who, I mean, they weren't doing badly. They were still 7 out of 10 performances. But we were away at a team who were third in the league and, spoiler, by the end of the match, who were second in the league. And I thought we dropped a little bit against a shaky-looking Middlesbrough team. So, I mean, I don't know. We bring the problems on ourselves, particularly defensively, I think. And I think there is an undercurrent of self-inflicted wounds on when just the way we're conceding some of these goals. So if you go back to the cup game against Sheffield United, was it Hamer or something? Hits this ball from the halfway line, goes past the keeper. You sit back and you think, you know what, there's a world-class goal. I don't like conceding it, but I respect the fact that's unstoppable. That's fun. You go to the first game, the first goal in the Middlesbrough game, you're like, no, should have cut that out. No, we've not quite gifted it, but we've not made them work really hard for that goal. And the problem was they were coming onto us a little bit. And so what first looked like a very fortunate goal just before half-time. And isn't that the perfect time to score? We found that midweek against Millwall, scored just before half-time. That is a great time to score. And so in comes this shot that, was it Hackney? I should look this up, actually. Yeah, it was Hackney. At first, it just looks like it's deflected off it, but actually, he's diverted it. You know what? I applaud that. That's fine. The bit that I don't applaud, because I don't think Beadle could do much about that, the bit that I don't applaud is why we're letting them come so far onto us. Why aren't we getting the ball out when we've got the opportunity to get it out? And so we're at the point where we're inviting the pressure in, and the second goal in particular comes as a result of that. I think that I have no qualms with the way that the instinct of Hackney to get that, to take the touch on the ball and goes into the corner. That bit, I get it. I don't like watching it. I'm a Blues fan, but the whole build up to it, you're just like, couldn't you have stopped it there or there or there? Or couldn't we have done something there? Those are the frustrating goals. Those are kind of like the self-inflicted wounds. But still, 2-1 down at half-time. And honestly, notwithstanding the fact that we'd lost Paik, and I felt that we'd lost Paik, I thought I'd take the draw. No, that's fine. I expected us to come at them and come at them and come at them. For the first 5 minutes, the setting up, we were at them. We really went for them. And the chance, Jay Stansfield goes one-on-one, dispossesses them one-on-one, loads of room. Here's the old cliche, oh, you got too much time, It's just like, first of all, his shot was weak. Fair enough. I'm not a great centre forward, and he is. I'm not a great goal scorer, he is. The shot was weak. He got it on target. Keeper saved it. But also, with some credit to the Middlesbrough defence for cutting out the passes, you had Dux, who wasn't quite in the right place for the layoff. So, Stansfield was a little short of options there. I think, anyway, any striker is just going to take the shot there. And it was a shame, really. And then, less than a minute later, he fires an instinctive shot wide. Then in comes Tommy Doyle, who has another good game. I don't think we had any 9 out of 10s today, but I think Doyle was as close as we were getting to that. I think he's looking an integral part of our midfield. His shot, just goes over, and we look really, 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 really dangerous. Then we get the substitutes, and we've talked a lot the last couple of weeks about Chris Davis and different plans and stuff like that. I think we could see the substitutions coming a mile off, because they are the regular substitutions at the moment. Off goes Damari Gray, who's been fouled and been up and down quite a lot. Anderson comes on for him. Off comes Dux, and on comes Kyogo. So let's stop and just have the Kyogo chat for a minute, because there was a lovely moment at the end of the Millwall game. It's been all over Blues social media, where Kyogo's serenaded by the fans, and he puts his hands up to the fans. He gets a great reception, and the bloke is a terrific footballer and deserved it. He doesn't let a miss put him off, and thank God for that, because he'd have been put off a long, long time ago. I would just suggest, and I go back to comments after the Bristol City game here, the guy needs 5 consecutive starts. Otherwise, we're not going to... This isn't going to change, I don't think. There is a world of difference of bringing Kyogo on with half an hour left when you're 3-4-0 up, and there's a chance. Go and get your goal. This is your moment. And bringing him on with half an hour left when you're 2-1 down and you have to get the goal. You're not going to win the game unless someone gets the goal. Against that, Middlesbrough's defence was probably the best part of that team, even notwithstanding the assorted changes they had to make, and they looked vulnerable once Fry had gone off as well. But they looked for a team with no manager. Whose manager gone towards? They looked organised. Now, Kyogo had a couple of good touches in the box. Didn't really get a clear-cut chance, but still, with half an hour left, we sort of needed a goal, didn't we? And I don't know, there's a romantic version of how these games pan out. And in my view, it very rarely pans out that way. There's the goal drought, hasn't scored in a while. Let's go with a while. Hasn't scored in a while, gets the equaliser. the away fans go mad. The journey home's great. It's the romantic version. The realistic version is we were 2-1 down against a Middlesbrough team who know how to hold a lead, whose home form was good, whose defence is far better than their attack. And they had something to hang on to. And by God, even without a couple of key players, they were intending to hang on to it. They've got experienced players who know how to play the game. You know what I'm talking about. And a little bit of us, we've all had players like that on our team who the opposition don't like, and we like a lot. So I get it all. Kyogo comes on, and I know I have an Alfie May theory, and my Alfie May theory is as I understand it, he wanted to leave. We talked about this before, but on his worst days, Alfie May would stand between the sticks and just try and get on the end of something. And we have these strikers now who aren't really doing that. And there was a cutback ball or two, wasn't there? And Kyogo wasn't there. Stansfield wasn't there. The player you want, a player to get on the end of that ball, just hadn't quite taken the gamble or wasn't there. And again, I'm not the coach. I don't fully get the disconnect because I see that we've got the tools here for the job, but they're not always doing the job. I am still of the belief that Kyogo will come good. I do wonder if it was a Lyndon Dykes moment. I don't know. But then also, I remember the Bristol City game where you bring on Lyndon Dykes and Lewis Kumas, the other predictable substitutions, and all you're doing is whacking the ball in, and all they're doing is whacking the ball out, and you're just like, this isn't going to work, isn't it? Now, I don't think it panned out quite like that as much as the result did. I think it was a lot more positive, but I do think when you need a goal, you've got to put on the striker, I think, who scored the goal. It's such a frustrating thing to say. I don't think Dutch had a great game, really. I think he's had 2 really good performances. Might be knackered. I don't know. I thought it was his weakest start in a Blucher. Still like a 6-7 out of 10. But still, I mean, he wasn't really troubling them after the first 10-15 minutes. Keshi Anderson comes on. He troubles them. He runs at them. He puts in crosses. And there were balls going in. And whenever Cochrane's rediscovered his crossing boots. And the crosses he put in, they look dangerous. But we're back at the point where Middlesbrough are just like, if they're going to score, it's going to be from a cross. Shall we go and make the crosses difficult? That's a good idea. And it sort of pans out, doesn't it? And so even as the game dwindles towards its end, we're putting in fewer crosses than we should be. Nowhere near on the scale of Bristol City. Bristol City, we try and have a collective amnesia over the last 15 minutes of that game. It's probably best just for our well-being. However, here we were trying to get the balls in, but it wasn't quite working. What was the weird bouncing thing from the Boro fans, by the way? I've not seen that before. That was a bit odd. Seemed to go on for a while. Anyway, the bottom line here is we had our chances. Anderson puts in a cross. Roberts almost seems to hit him, puts a header in, goes on target. We were attacking the goal, and some of the efforts were going below the bar as well. So I can't really, it's the way, I can't really grumble too much about it, apart from when I look at the score and you're just like, self-inflicted wounds. We're back to a few weeks ago. You can't concede 2 goals every game and expect to get a result, not least against a team right up there in the table. There were chances that we muffed, really. There was the bit where Iwata and Kyogo seemed to get in each other's way, and a header that probably should have gone towards the goal just seemed to go in completely the other direction. I do want to give a bit of credit, though, to Lewis Kumas, because he's of the signings that we brought in over the summer. He's not massively impressed me. He's a young bloke, again, a far better footballer than I will ever be. But if I've got a choice between Damari Gray, Keshi Anderson, Patrick Roberts or Lewis Kumas, he's 4th choice at the moment, primarily because he just seems to get knocked off the ball too early. Also primarily because his end result his crosses aren't great. I thought today Lewis Kumas had, off the bench, a good game. I think you can put him in the 7-8 out of 10 category. Not a game-changing game, but I thought he caused them trouble. I was disappointed that Roberts went off, and maybe it was a fitness thing. I thought he was still impacting the game when he went off, so I was a bit like, oh. But on comes Kumas. I had a lot of drive. He ran back and did his defensive duties as well, and I thought he looked improved. He was going past players. He got a couple of crosses in. I still don't think he's at the level of the other three, but in terms of direction of travel, let's go for that cliche. No, I thought someone had fallen over. I thought he was sort of improving, and you're just like, because we're going to need him over the Christmas period. There's no point tearing our players down. There was one point where Cashing got up to warm up, and I was just like, no. But you're just like, no, if he's on the field in a blue shirt, I just want the best for him. Even if Jack Robinson comes on, even that's the test, isn't it? I just want the best for him while he's on the pitch in a blue shirt. I thought Lewis Koumas was decent today. I don't think he was the reason we lost the game either. And I thought he showed intent and just caused trouble. Won us a corner or two. And, I don't think you can really grumble with that. It did become clear, right? There is an old cliche that goes around, though. So it goes into the last 10 minutes of the game. Here we go. There's the old cliche. It's just like, you're just going to get one more chance. You're going to get one really good chance. You're just going to get one more chance. I call bullshit. The number of games I sat where someone said, you're going to get one last really good chance, and we've not had one last really good chance. Nah, it's too commonplace. You have to earn your chance. And I mean, Middlesbrough, I thought, started to look comfortable in the game for the first time in the last 10 minutes. And only then, only at that point did I get any kind of feeling off them that just like, yeah, I think we can get this over the line. And, oh God, did we miss Paik? But you're not going to get one more chance unless you work for it. And the truth is, we didn't really, did we? Once Lyndon Dykes was on, and once Koumas was on, we showed a lot of intent. But was there a clear-cut chance? I don't think so. We send up 9-foot James Beadle to see if he can head another ball over the bar from a couple of yards out. But, I mean, all joking aside, he causes problems. In this case, he nearly gets sent off. And, perhaps in another version of the world, he might have been sent off. I'm fully aware by the noise from the Boro fans that the referee was not massively popular. I thought some of the decisions were poor. I still think he's nowhere near the worst we've had this season. Every penalty appeal that he didn't give didn't really look penalty enough for me. But I fully understand if I went on Middlesbrough message boards, and I have not, they might have a different view. I thought it was all right. I thought Beadle might have been a bit fortunate to get away with the yellow card. I almost expected Ryan Allsop to be looking up at the point that Beadle nearly tried to deck him. Still, yellow card, and I'm going to say get away with it. I'm not sure it's a case of get away with it. I can understand why it's a yellow. I don't think we'd have had too many grumbles if it was red either. Frustration at the end of a match. And, you get to the end of the game, and I mean, you don't have to look hard. I mean, 2-1 Middlesbrough. It's the hard fact of it. 2-1 Middlesbrough. But you don't have to look hard for the positives here. I thought we played well. On the whole, we played well. I think we were a level below Millwall, a level below the Portsmouth games, but still, we played well. We gave Middlesbrough a hell of a game. And, the old football cliche, could have gone either way. I think it could have gone either way. I 1 foot in a different place, balls, all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, we lost the game, Middlesbrough won it. This is much different from losing to Stoke, from losing to Coventry, from losing to Bristol City, in that we can feel a little bit hard done by. In the same way, I think Middlesbrough would feel very hard done by if we'd won it. But also, I think, as much as a draw is a fair result, it just doesn't matter, does it? We lost the game. Bottom line, we lost the game, and we're going into an international break off the back of a better run of form than the last time we went into an international break. So I'm going to look at the league table, because, the next run of games is really interesting, because we've played 15 games now. So the next 8 games take us to the halfway point of the season, and we have played the top 8 in the table. Coventry battered us. Middlesbrough could have gone either way. Stoke, we didn't deserve to win. Preston, we won. Hull, you could argue we would have won if Jack Robinson, we'd been there. Millwall, we won comprehensively. Ipswich, should have won. Bristol City, let's not go there. And so we've played the top 8. And so the next 8 games, when we get to the halfway point of the season, we're going to have quite a flavour of where we're going to be. Next up is home to Norwich. They've just sacked their manager, might get a bounce. Away to the Yam Yams coming up the end of November, and then it's home to Watford, away to Southampton, away to QPR, home to Charlton, away to Sheffield United, home to Derby, home to Southampton. That takes us through to the end of the year. And we don't play another top 8 team until it's Coventry, isn't it? 4th of January. They've moved the time, so it looks like I can't go. I'll put my ticket on the resale thing if I can't. But we're not playing any of the teams up there. This is the double-edged sword, of course, because Blues had a habit. Lots of teams have a habit. You lift yourselves for the games that are teams above you, are fighting for similar stuff as you, teams lower down the table, and just like it's a bit more of a scrap. So, I mean, we can throw all of that stuff in there, and, you know, it's fair. It may not pan out. So, but we have, I would suggest, a big, juicy chance going forward. And, you know, maybe I'm drinking too. Cheers, everybody. What I saw in those 2 4-0s, which I had not seen before in the Chris Davies era, particularly Millwall, where we go toe-to-toe with the team. We don't let them get a foothold. We get the foothold and never let it go. You know, we go for the throat. We just try and kill it off. We kill it off. And so compare where we are now to where we were a week and a bit ago, with 6 points and 2 wins and a defeat behind us. 9 goals scored, 2 conceded. And we'd have all taken that at the start of the week. And I think it's weird testament to how far we progressed in 1 calendar week, that we're sat at the end of this Middlesbrough game thinking, God, that's disappointing, isn't it? Whereas if you'd have asked me like 9 days ago, anything we get out of that would be a minor miracle. We've got a pretty good team here. There are alarm bells over injuries to Paik. That is a real concern, and I hope it's not long term. And there's still 2 strikers we bought in the summer who we've not managed to get a goal out of yet, and we're 15 games into the season. I'm just talking strictly league. I'm well aware Kyogo scored an open goal in the League Cup. But in terms of the league, we're 15 games into the season, and just one of them, if they catch fire, we are 4 points off the playoffs going into the international break. If you're inclined to look down, if you're a glass half empty, well, I've nearly emptied this. Hang on. 11 points below us sit Sheffield United. I think we're turning into a good team again. I'm saying that with quiet reticence. I'm mildly... Luke, stop it, get down. I'm mild reticence, a little bit scared at even saying it out loud. But Birmingham City are encouraging again, aren't they? That go back to that post on the message board. It's just like, it turns out we've lost. We've put up a really good performance. Our players have basically been dragged off the pitch, having given it all, even if they've not been at their best. And I don't know, we're coming up to, I think just before we went into the last international break, I suggested we'd have a better idea of where we were going into the next one. And since then, we've picked up 3 really good wins in 2 slightly different ways as well. When we all meet again, home to Norwich, the 150th anniversary game. I mean, the occasion at St Andrews promises to be special. Hopefully Paik will be in the team. I mean, there's a load of things that could turn our season at this point, but I would suggest we're not in a bad position. I'm still a bit annoyed we lost this one.